Hi Sagittarius, welcome to your Mercury direct mid-September reading. So, I was just watching Wolf of Wall Street, which I love. I don't know how many of you know this, but I got kicked out of college for punching my roommate in the face and breaking her nose. And when I came home from that, my dad suggested that I become a securities trader, which I did. So I got my start in the adult world, in the world of jobs, and it sounded wrong, in the adult, in the world of like having a job and all of that, which I hadn't been allowed to have in high school. My first foray into adulthood was working in securities. So I particularly like Wolf of Wall Street. And once got into a really bad argument with a partner at the time, an ex now, because I said I liked the movie. He was really irritated by the fact that I found the excess in the character to be funny. Actually, I find the whole movie to be really funny in a way that very few films are. Why do I mention all that? Because you have very strong work energy right now, and part of embracing this work energy is embracing success and embracing abundance. And Wolf of Wall Street, and namely Jordan Belfort, is such a good example of how having the capacity for abundance or having the capacity to be loved can create enough of a vacuum for you to call those things to yourself. So work, money, the seeds you've already planted, the work you've already done, very much at the forefront now as Mercury goes direct. When this work begins to come in, when the work begins to pile up, just remember your connection to family and friends, and don't, fall off with those connections, because for the past year, when work hasn't been going very well, you have leaned on your family and friends and partners. So just remember that. Remember what they've done for you. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, this is an incredible time for you. You feel inspired again. Your mind is working very quickly. You are full of new ideas. There are new opportunities coming to you, and the road is open, which is where most of your irritation has been. It's just in an anxious horse kind of walking in circles, looking for a way out. But there's no road to take, so therefore no road to run down. And the energy is just being dissipated in the most lethargic and uncomfortable way. All things that horses cannot fucking stand. So now the road is clear. The way is open. And you have so many resources that you've built up over the last year. But one of the things you should do now with all that you've built up is look at it and figure out what you have done over the past, let's say, year and a half, and how that can apply to certain certifications, diplomas, anything that you can go and do with what you've already got under your belt and get a new certification for, or get a new license for it. Do that now, because it opens up this road even more. So the focus being your professional life, your work life, your money life, but also how it brings the power back to you. After quite a while, you feel strong, you feel directed. There is a sense of togetherness. Things are going very well, alhamdulillah. It looks really nice. And you have great ambitions, you don't just want money or success just to want it. There are things that you want. There's a quality of life that you want that's very important to you. And you don't always talk about it. It's not generally things that you talk about at parties. You're an incredible conversationalist. You're extremely flirtatious. You're very charming. And these are not the things you discuss if you're that type of person. But that doesn't mean that you don't have this in you. It's just not to be talked about at dinner parties. But it's there, and it's important to you. And after a period, again, I come back to this over and over again in the reading, because when you were in that muck, it really did seem like there was no way out of it. And now suddenly Mercury goes direct, even though all these other planets are still retrograde, and you come out of it. So remember where you've come from and run as fast as you can now in the other direction. Use all the resources that you have been frustrated by having and not knowing what to do with. Use them all now. Get going and move as quickly as possible, because as the opportunities come in, the way you're going to keep the momentum of the opportunities coming in is by taking them. You've got the 10 of Wands, the 10 of Cups, the 10 of Pentacles. It's go time. You have everything you need to get going. Now you need to go, right? One of the things that will help you with this speed the speed that is necessary right now is refining your idea or your expectation of other people, because this is one of the things that slows us down in life. You cannot or should not expect anything from anyone right now. Whatever has already happened, however much people have helped you, however much, if you have a partner at the moment, however much your partner has helped you. Again, I said it right at the top. Be very grateful, give them what they need, but your expectations now of them should come down to nothing, because you have no expectations of anyone. You've got your blinders on and you've got one direction to run in, and that's it, right? And that one direction is your abundance, your success, you focusing on you. Mars moves into Libra and you're like, okay. All of these worries and, these financial worries, these professional worries, everything subsides. There's quiet in your mind again, and you can focus. And opportunities come in that say, here, use your focus, do this for this amount of money, or come do this with us and you'll get this amount of money. And you're like, yes, this is what I need right now. Everything else, just put it to the side. You've had a long time to deal with them, to work with them, to take care of people's feelings, to process your own feelings. Put all of that away now. Now, Venus went direct on the 3rd and Jupiter went retrograde on the 4th. So for you, this is your vision getting really clear, which is what I mean about putting those blinders on. Once your vision is clear, which by now Mercury's been direct for 2 days, you should be there. Now that your vision is clear, put those blinders on, put everyone to the side. And this is where not having expectations of people that you have emotional relationships with, this is where that comes in. It doesn't matter what your particular promises with these people are, obligations to these people are. Everybody will understand if you give them a little bit of attention and let them know what you're about to do or what you need to do. Everyone will understand. Just make it known. Just, go in with that little preemptive, hey, I'm going to be super busy for the next couple of months, and this is why. Okay, and until December, if you can keep this momentum, which it looks like very much that you can, really strong cards, Queen of Wands, King of Pentacles, you are ready to feel better again. You're tired. You're frustrated and tired and exhausted by this kind of circular money situation you've been in, and it's enough. And right when you reached your point of now I've had enough, this door opens, okay? Now, you are appreciated. I think that's the part that actually will make you the most emotional. You are appreciated. You are being poured into. What you thought was leaving you out, alienating you, pushing you out, all those things are now appreciated. All those things are now honored. And you're allowed to feel good about them. It is a drastic change from what's been happening. And it is emotional because there has been a sense among Sages of what'd I do? I didn't do anything. I don't know why things are going like this. This is odd. I've come into things. There may have been very specific things that have happened recently, like events, trips, job situations, relationships where you felt like you came in with very good intentions and you didn't do anything except, keep yourself safe or be smart about your surroundings or be smart about your emotional safety, your physical safety. And you were reviled for it or made, the villain for it. And it's confusing because you're never the villain. You're the peacemaker. You're the one that's getting people to talk it out. You're the one that's like, come on, stop. It's not worth it. Let's get along. And so when someone reviles you, it's like, oh, you got to be kidding me. Like, I'm not the bad guy. I've never been the bad guy. Like, I'm the one trying to get you to understand that even the bad guy ain't so bad. How could I be the bad guy? But I think what you've been privy to for the past year or so is that when you aren't taking as active a role, maybe because money's not as good or your confidence is low for other reasons, when you're stepping back a little bit and observing and just doing what's good for you instead of doing what's good for the collective and kind of taking care of everybody around you, people have a tendency to show their worst sides to you. When you decide that you're not going to be their parent, they decide to act all the way out. And I've always found that really interesting. It's like they do it to spite you. They do it to kind of put you back in that box of like, you have to be the adult in this situation because if you're not, look what I'm going to do. And what they never get about you is that you are wild at heart. You have a wild spirit. If someone tries to back you into an emotional corner, you will buck. And when you do, people are so surprised because you can be so very elegant with your quiet, even with your rage, you can be quite elegant. And people are not ready for that side of you. Horses are so very elegant, even when they buck, even when they kick at you and, break your legs, like they're beautiful. Everything they do is beautiful. So I think sometimes people can get so taken with that like kind of fluidity that you have about you that when you come out of your face and say, no, I don't like that, or I'm going to do this, or I don't give a fuck what you think, they're like, whoa, I now feel betrayed. If you're not going to be the peacemaker, if you're not going to be the bigger person, if you're not going to be the adult, if you're not going to be the one who takes care in this situation, I'm going to go ahead and completely wild out. And then Sag is like, oh, do you want to have that kind of contest? Do you want to see who's wilder? Because right now, all I've done is say, I'm not going to take responsibility for you. If you want, I can just not be responsible at all. I can completely lose my mind. How about that? And when people come across that side of you, because you are half man and half horse. The horse is elegant. The horse is intelligent. The horse is fluid. The man is hypersexual. The man is violent. The man has a bad temper, and can talk themselves into all kinds of trouble. And when they get a hold of the man, then they're like, oh, wait, actually, maybe we shouldn't try to take advantage of this person. Maybe this person isn't just a quiet, noble creature. And it's good for them to remember that. Okay? All right. What else? This feeling of things finally turning back around, it's an uncomfortable process. You would think that because, hey, now career goes well, alhamdulillah, like everything's going well, we've got this well-oiled machine, this is your career, we're moving fast, we're moving forward, we're building equity, we're building long-term wealth, inshallah. You would think that this would be the most wonderful experience. Yay, we're back, everything's good. No, this experience is very uncomfortable. This experience is full of clarification. A lot of confusions that you've had for the past year are being clarified, and perhaps not in ways that you like very much. The way I have it written here is it's an uncomfortable process, right? And it's so uncomfortable that the only thing that kind of makes it gets you through it is that you realize somewhere halfway through it, past the point of no return, that actually this is very uncomfortable, but staying the same would be terrible. Like staying the same would be so much worse. So why is it so deeply uncomfortable? Because you're coming back from loss, because you're coming back from some sort of failure, because even if it's something personal that no one ever knew about, you were at a low and now you're bouncing back up. But when you're bouncing back up and you're reaching these new altitudes, one of the things that you're most aware of is how far up you're coming, which means you've got to realize how far down you were. And that Sag-Gemini axis, when we're going through stuff, we don't like to acknowledge it. And so I know now, as you pick up, as you're rising up, you're becoming aware and acknowledging of where you were. Acknowledge and having, gaining acknowledgement, or becoming aware and having acknowledgement of like, oh, okay, that's where I came from. It's not having acknowledgement. That's not how you say that. I hate when I use a word. What you know what I mean, but just so I say it the way I want to say it. Until you reach that point of acknowledgement of where you were, what you're bouncing back from, you will never really be able to give yourself the credit. You will never give yourself the amount of that self-esteem boost, right? That belief in self. You'll never give yourself the real amount, the true value that you should, if you can't acknowledge where you were. And I know it's hard and it's about pride, and that's why the words are so difficult coming out right now, because this is not stuff that you guys like to talk about at all. But there's no shame in it, I know horses don't like to lie down, but there's no shame in it. Actually, it's a big part of rebirth. You gotta hit the bottom, and sometimes you even have to rest there for a while. And that's okay too, because as soon as you acknowledge it, and you're acknowledging it as you're on your way back up, so it's not that bad. It's really not. And it will give you perspective as you come up and up and up, inshallah, and you continue, God willing, to rise up. The perspective you have now, because now you can see deep down into the dark where you were, where you probably haven't ever been before. This is a place you reach through betrayal. This is when people steal your shit and take your money and screw you over. You're a good person who does good things for people, and you don't generally get treated like this. So to have been through this at all has been shocking, And yet here we are. And things have finally turned around, and your patience and your perseverance and your just natural tendency to be the fucking adult. You are not going to act like a child. A playful adult, but an adult nonetheless. It has carried you through in such a beautiful way, and it continues to carry you through. What I love about the Queen of Wands here is that even though you have been through all this, your sense of self and the way that you are perceived and the way that you are known, your reputation, it's still stellar, and we love that. We have so much more to talk about. We're talking about romance, we're talking about love, we're talking about health, but we'll do that now in the extended while you look at the cards. The cards, if I just sit back and look at them, I've been doing this a little bit now, when we first started doing the videos, if I just look at them as the story that I'm used to reading, the way that I read cards is it looks like a story to me. This is someone who planted a lot of seeds and finally has gained the wisdom to know what to do with those seeds when they sprout. And perhaps that time in between, those seeds needed to be in the dark and needed to be untouched. And perhaps it was really important for the magician during that time to be in the dark as well. And now the road opens, and a fiery person full of self-esteem and self-worth and gumption and ambition can go out into this world of 10 possibilities this way and 10 possibilities that way and 10 possibilities this way and another way, and do what they want. And they have the capability and the speed and the energy and the love, and now also the patience, which is a new thing, to really turn everything around. It's slow, it's uncomfortable. You need a lot of rest with this rebirth. But it's real. And something beautiful comes next. From you, out of you, with you, because of you. You did it. You're gonna keep doing it. I love you. Let's look at these cards.